We are having so much fun, and we know you're going to love our next guest. His name is Tony Walker, and he is a comedy guy. Comedy cures everything. So.
Absolutely. I had cancer at the age of 32, and I do believe that the laughter and the positive attitude got me through it just as much as the medications did, which led to the comedy troupe that I run called Knockem Comedy. We do dinner theater, murder mysteries, game shows, kid shows. We're not stand-up or anything like that, just comedy shows, variety shows.
So you go to restaurants and where else? Like theaters?
Restaurants, private parties, corporate events, fundraisers. Did I say fundraisers?
Fundraisers, firehouses.
Comedy shows, they're murder mysteries, they're audience participation. It's a scripted show because there's clues and hints that have to go out, but it's not a don't blink or you'll miss something. It's not Agatha Christie.
Right.
It's a comedy. It's lighthearted, but one of the characters does get killed,
right.
And then the audience has to figure out who did it and why. And if it's a private party or a corporate event, we personalize it to fit their event.
Now, do you ask the audience for help with the mysteries? Or
Yeah, they solve it.
All by themselves.
Based on what they saw during the show, we even give them a little section where they can interrogate the suspects.
Oh, that's
and,
fun.
So we'll deflect, deny, point fingers at other characters, but everybody makes the rounds throughout the whole room and talks to people.
The show is guaranteed. It's 100% guaranteed fun.
Totally.
Everywhere we go,
always.
Everybody loves that show.
The audience just get so involved, and there's just such a part of the show, and that makes it even better.
Other things that you do aside from mystery.
we do game shows. Oh, the game show, we have a podium with lights and buzzers and sounds, and it's basically
Like
a trivia game show, or it could be, again, we ad-lib with that too. So they may want a trivia game show, but if we show up and they're a loud, boisterous group and they're a lot of fun, we could ask them to do funny physical challenges or do some karaoke or whatever, or name that tune, whatever we feel like doing, and they'll be willing to do. We'll take it there.
Yeah.
What movie introduced the phrase, "There's no crying in baseball"?
Oh, wait.
What letter comes after A? Yes, go ahead. B is correct!
Is there a favorite skit that you do that just still cracks you up every time you do it?
We do a lot of audience participation murder mystery shows, comedic murder mystery shows. And there's two shows. We have a mob show. We're in New York. You have to have the mob shows. And we have a redneck wedding, which is just
I have to come see that one.
You're welcome anytime. Anytime. In fact, I even brought you a shirt.
Growing up in St. Louis, Missouri, I have to say, you did?
Of course I did.
Hey.
That you will wear everywhere you go. In fact, I have a whole bunch there. I'm giving one out to everybody.
Everywhere I go. Okay.
That's right.
There you go.
Knockem Comedy.
Oh, that's great.
Can I
Knockem
pretend I'm
Comedy.
drinking something?
Excellent. Yeah, you can pretend like
Thanks,
you're drinking something.
I'm having fun on the set.
We actually do put water in it when guests ask.
Just
we
not
do. But
this
if you
guest.
but if you don't ask ahead of time, wait. This one's full of water. You ready? 1, 2, 3. All right. There you go.
Johnny, you have a good time tonight or what?
Had an awesome time.
All right. KDC, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, all right.
Okay, we'll just do that for now.
Little roller up along first, behind the bag, it gets through Buckner, here comes Knight, and the Mets win it!
Hello, Tony. Mookie Wilson here, 1986 Mets. How you doing? Long time no see, man. Hey, man, I miss you guys, man, that Knockem Day Comedy Radio, man. I miss you. I wish I was still up there, man. But I'll wait till it warm up a little bit, and hopefully this year things will be a little bit better, man. But when we're talking about comedy, hey, the early years of Mets was a lot to laugh about. You had to make a lot of comedy off those guys. Hey, hope to see you guys during the summer, and hopefully get back on the show, man, at some point in time during the course of the year, all right? All right? Yeah, fine. Contact me, man. All right, Tony. Talk to you later.
You look great. As great as can be. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Knockem Day Comedy Podcast, coming at you live on Gov's Comedy Club Podcast. That is the YouTube channel. That is the name of the Facebook page. But, of course, we're watching on the YouTube channel. That's where we hope you guys will be watching us. Please hit those thumbs up, and please like and share the show. Share it all over the place. And tell everybody you know about all the great shows here on Gov's Comedy Club Podcast. We're live from the legendary Governor's Comedy Club in Levittown, where Dan has never been.
I've never been.
But we'll get to that. The place for this weekend, you can see Nikki Smiggs, Judy Gold. Don't forget, May 21st, John Ziegler is taping a comedy special here. The Giggle Room this weekend has all sorts of great shows. But don't forget Terry McNeely and Chris Cassandro on May 6th. Brian McGinnis and Joe Pontillo, May 21st. The Brokerage in Belmore this weekend, Mike Burton is performing. And McGuire's in Bohemia, Roddy McInnes is performing there this weekend. Go to govs.com to check out their full schedule and make your reservations and see what's cooking over there on at all the great clubs here. What else do I got? Any more announcements? Studio, if you'd like some studio time here, you want to do your own podcast, we got this beautiful studio for you right here, equipped with cameras and lights and monitors and microphones and phones and Zoom and all sorts of great stuff. And, of course, access to this great club. So get in touch with us on our Facebook page. Gov's Comedy Club Podcast is also the name of the Facebook page, as well as the YouTube channel. All right. That's all I got. We're done. Goodbye.
Good night, everyone.
So long. Thanks for coming. Dan Wilbur is here, ladies and gentlemen. Dan Wilbur. Hi,
Hello.
Dan Wilbur.
Hi. It's good to be here.
Good to see you. And we were just talking. We just mentioned it. You've never been to Governor's before.
I've never been to Governor's. I've been in Brooklyn, just slumming it, with these hipsters. It's a black hole over there. You just get sucked in. You can't get out. No light escapes.
You're not a hipster. Is that what you're saying?
Oh no! I mean, as I told you, I just moved here a month ago, so I'm embracing the suburbs. I'm a clean, boring. I'm wearing Nikes with holes in them and a black sweater.
See, but that's
I'm ready to work at a Barnes and Noble. That's where I'm.
But that's the secret. See, we're behind this table. They can't see your shoes, so you don't
I know.
have to tell them that.
I should. I'm not wearing pants, but I am wearing shoes.
And he keeps smacking me in the face with his. Knocks off my glasses because he's got no pants on. So, explain this to me. You just moved here. Most people are moving out of here.
Yes, everyone I've met. I moved to Huntington, and everybody I've met there asks why. Because
Huntington's a great place.
Huntington's great. The reason my wife and I moved is because her best friend lives in Glen Cove, and I think she's lived in Long Island her whole life, and her fiance has lived in Long Island his whole life, and they both said if they could do it over again, they'd move to Huntington. And so we went and we checked it out. We just loved it, and now I live in a house that has so much work to do on it. I will never experience whatever's going on in Huntington. I will never leave. I have too much spackling to do, and I'm just gonna. By the end of by 2024, my house will be presentable to human beings, and by then I'll be a homebody. I won't want to go to Besito or whatever. Or the Shed. Local references.
Yes.
Hey, folks.
If you're
guys
familiar with Huntington, you know what he's talking about.
You know what I'm talking about. All those restaurants will be closed by the time I go to them.
But I think what we're missing, the main point of the story is you're either stalking your wife's best friend or you're just living her life for her, some kind of weird fantasy thing.
Well, I'm a very deeply, I'm full of FOMO. I like to know how other people live, and I just do whatever they tell me to. So as soon as someone says, "Hey, sports I don't like," I get dragged to them. Plays I don't like, I get dragged to movies. I just live whatever everyone else's opinion of how to live a life is. That's what I do. I just take the last person I spoke to, whatever they tell me to do, I do that. And it's just a healthy way to live. Any therapist will tell you that's
fat,
exactly
dumb, and
what
stupid.
you should do.
Well, you're not fat, but that
I'm
fat,
getting
dumb,
there.
and stupid mentality is,
I found out that Ben & Jerry's is open till 11, so it's over for me.
Yeah,
that is the one place I've been, as I've hung out with the teenagers at 10:30 p.m. That's the only place teenagers can hang out.
Yeah.
I feel like Huntington's a place to get drunk or to be a teenager or both. And so I think there's a lot of drunk teenagers at Ben & Jerry's. I don't want to blow the lid off here.
It's all right.
They're not drinking in the Ben & Jerry's.
Right.
They're just closing the night.
They drink
there.
and then they go there. Right.
They drink and they go there.
Gotcha.
They drink at 4 p.m. and then walk the streets of Huntington. This is all I know. This is the scene that I've noticed in the first month of being
Well, now
here.
you're explaining why people are leaving, basically.
Sure.
But so you mentioned you don't like sports, you don't like plays.
Oh, no. I like those things. I just go to the bad ones. You know?
Oh.
I was like, you should root for the Knicks. And I'm like, well, that's a travesty.
Yes.
Now that you live here, you should root for the Knicks.
Well,
or I was rooting for the Lakers because I love LeBron from the Cleveland days. And that's been awful. And now, and then everything I get dragged to is a bit of a bummer.
Well, I'm a Met
Plays and
fan, so
movies.
I feel I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah. No, I like all of these things in theory.
Okay.
I was just saying yes. I was just agreeing with you that anybody who says anything about, oh, you got to check out the new Batman, and I'm like, do I? Do I really? Haven't I seen enough Batman?
There's been a lot of Batman.
There's been enough Batman, and
Yeah.
then people are like, I saw it twice. I'm like, that's 6 hours of your life you're not getting back. So
that's true.
I'll do it because I've been told to do it so many times.
It is a good movie. But I'm with you. It's like, all right, really, another Batman, and I'm starting to feel that way about Spider-Man.
Yes,
and I feel that they're running out of ideas. Let's just bring the other Spider-Man back.
Yeah,
because we're out of ideas.
It's basically when SNL does those sketches where they just have old hosts, like when they do the Five Timers Club sketch.
Yes,
and it's just to get applause breaks for each celebrity being more and more famous. It's just that's what Marvel movies are going to turn into. They're like, and then this guy comes in, and everybody cheers, and it's all stupid. But I do enjoy some things. I just have forgotten what all of them are.
That was my next question. Apparently, there's nothing. There's really nothing left.
There's nothing.
Sex. We didn't touch upon that. We didn't kill that yet.
Well, I'm married, so I remember
so you did
it.
kill that.
I remember what it was like, and it was fun.
Now, all right. Speaking of marriage, you're from Cleveland originally.
Yeah, I'm from Cleveland. Yes, I was married to Cleveland. Thank you.
You were married to
I
Cleveland.
don't know what you. Speaking of marriage,
Cleveland. Did you come to New York because you fell in love with a woman? And is that what brought you here?
I fell in love with comedy, which is the worst
you
thing.
You came to New York
this is
to
the worst
pursue
thing
your
to
comedy
fall
dreams?
in love. Fall in love with comedy, and it's an empty, sad thing. You never. Well, I guess if you're good at comedy, you could get laid pretty often. So I guess being married to comedy isn't really all that bad. But no, I moved to New York. I went to Bard College, which is upstate New York, and the whole purpose was so that I could get down to the city. And by the end of college, I was coming down. I was working at a club called Comics, which has
Yep.
since closed.
Yeah.
Was very nice. This studio is the nicest place I've been to since Comics. The beautiful
Wow.
Comics Comedy Club. This is a gorgeous studio. I'm just
This
trying
is
to
great.
plug it so more people do podcasts.
Well, we appreciate that.
Come
yes.
on.
We're
Come on, guys.
hoping
Start
we
your
do.
podcast.
That's right.
But yeah, I moved here as soon as I got to school. I knew I wanted to do stand up, and then I was so close to the city, I started coming down, and you know, I find that New York, although it gets a bad rap for everybody being rude and sort of cliquey, but New York comics are sort of welcoming, and if you do it enough, you just have to do it. You just have to show up for more than 6 months, and then they start to realize that you're actually trying.
Yeah,
and good.
it's if they feel you're trying, whether you're good or not. If they feel you're seriously trying, they accept you.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yes, and then they'll talk trash behind your back, whether you're good or not. So I guess they are kind of rude. But yeah. If you're real bad, at comedy and you're in New York, this is what you'll hear. If you ever overhear somebody talking about it, they'll go, "Heck of a nice guy," and that's how you know you're bad, because they're like, "Good hang." Good hang,
Yes.
that guy. Oh, yeah. Real
Yes.
great hang. And you're like, well, I guess that's a compliment.
I hear
Like,
that a lot. Yeah,
versus
it's a
somebody
great
coming and saying, hey, I love your act and I love
Right.
this one joke. If somebody comes up and says, like, I love this one joke and I have a tag for you, you're in. You're a good comic,
okay.
I think. Or I'm just, bloviating and I'm actually bad. And
What if no? You do a set.
Sure.
You come off. Nobody says anything to you. Good, nothing, good or bad.
Well, that's a road gig.
Yeah.
I think every time I do something on the road, people go, either people smile nicely and walk out, or they, or one guy who wants to do comedy comes up and tells you every comic they've ever seen. They're like, one time I saw Burr and I saw Gaffigan. I saw Bamford. They just start listing things. You're like, yeah, those are comics.
I don't know why you're telling
those
me
are
that.
comedians.
Yeah.
And then they'll tell you just a heinous joke that's racist, and then that's the end of your tour. Isn't that fun? I want to do comedy. Let me tell you the worst joke I've ever heard in my life, and you're gonna feel bad about it. So. No. You're saying, what if someone comes up and says nothing positive or negative?
They don't say anything at all. How do you take that?
I just assume, they're trying to get me into a multi-level marketing scheme or something. Oh, hey, how are you? You seem good with people. What if you sold these leggings? That's what they do. I don't know.
Well, because just the other night, I performed at a bar in Northport.
Sure.
I came off. I finished my set. I walked back. Now, like you just pointed out, I didn't know. I only knew one of the comics I met once before. The headliner wasn't in the room. He was outside. There was only one buddy of mine that was on the bill as well, and he was standing there. Actually, I take that back. He wasn't standing there. He was on next, so he was walking on as I'm walking off. So basically, I didn't know anybody. So I go back, and now I'm just kind of standing there because I do that. I
Sure.
don't care if I know you or not. Great job. Hey, that was good. Oh, I liked this part. And I give him a fist bump, high five, shake the hands, whatever. Got to be supportive. But I kind of walked back there, not expecting to be told, hey, that was great, but just something, hey, nice job, or something.
Yeah.
And everybody's just kind of looking forward. And I'm like, oh, all right, I guess I sucked. And I just kind of turned around and started watching my friend who was doing it. But I'm standing, I'm like, this is kind of weird. I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking to myself, I must have sucked.
Maybe they just weren't watching it. Well, actually, no, because if they weren't watching it, they'd still give you the fist bump. Hey, great job. How were they? And then you just have to say, oh, they were great. They loved me. Just so you save face.
Right, exactly.
They were great. They were fantastic. I mean, someone threw a chair at me, but I feel like that new bit is going great. No, I don't know what that's about. I mean, every comic has some kind of social issue. For the most part, I've mostly done stand-up in New York where people are very supportive. No matter what, it's comic to comic. So I don't know what that's about. It's probably just some awkwardness.
Yeah.
Or or they knew something about you and they said it in the room as soon as you left, and they they have dirt on you.
They probably do. It's definitely possible, and I wouldn't be surprised.
I'm not saying that's never happened to me. I'm just saying, for the most part, I think I've had more experience with people disingenuously saying "great job," and I know they didn't watch my set.
Right, and I've
they
had
just
that
sort of
too.
vaguely heard they vaguely heard an applause break, and then you come off and they're like, "Man, you're funny," and then you're like, "You didn't even see it."
Well, I'll tell you a story, and I've told the story a lot on the show, but I'm going to tell it again anyway.
Yeah,
I've been doing now. I'm new to the world of stand-up. 2 years.
Yeah,
and within those 2 years, we had a year of COVID. So we're talking maybe like a year.
So you're
really,
new to Instagram live comedy.
Yes, basically. Yes, that's exactly right.
You're new to this podcast.
Yeah. So, but I've been doing. I run a dinner theater troupe. I've been doing comedic murder mysteries for 25 years.
Yeah.
So that's my comfort zone. And we did a show here, and headlining in the big club, because they have 2 rooms here. Headlining in the big club was T.J. Miller.
Okay.
Now T.J. Miller, he sees us. We're all back here waiting to start our show, and he sees us before he goes on. We're in crazy costumes and whatnot. All the actors. There was 6 or 7 of us, and he looks at us and says, "Wow, cool costumes. What are you guys doing?" So we're doing a murder mystery. He goes, "Oh, that sounds like fun." Okay, and it was kind of, and then as he's walking into the green room, he goes, "Oh, I'd rather be doing murder mystery with you guys." And we're like, "Oh, that was kind of a cool thing to say." So he goes and does his show. We do ours. We finished right around the same time.
Yeah.
So we catch him in the hallway again, and he goes, "Hey guys, great job tonight. You guys were fantastic." So he's near me, and I wasn't trying to be a dick. I was just being honest, and I said it. I called him out on it. I go, "You didn't see us."
Yeah.
He goes, "Oh no, it was great, man. You guys were fantastic." I'm like, "No, you didn't see us." He goes, "No, I'm telling you." So I turned to Sallie, who does this show with me. She's our stage manager, does our sound during the show. So she's by the sound booth. So if you're going to walk in, you have to walk past her to check the show out. So I turn and I go, "Did you see T.J. Miller watching us?" Now, I'm busting his balls. I thought he would laugh. And she goes, "No, he wasn't there." And he flipped. When somebody tries to pay you a fucking compliment, you just fucking say that. He's screaming at us out here. You motherfuckers. And I thought he was joking.
Right.
So I start to laugh, and I'm standing right by the green room and he's walking, he's about to go into the green room, and I hold up my phone and say, "Can we take a picture?" Just get the fuck out of here. And he turns, he slams the door in our faces. We're like, "Holy shit, T.J. Miller just cursed us out." So I called him out on it, and he got pissed off.
Yeah, that sounds terrible. I don't know what to say.
But I'd rather have silence than that fake, "Hey, you were great," when you didn't even see it.
Oh, sure. Well, I do have one experience, and I won't say which comic it was, but I did pull the, "Hey, good job," but the guy had just absolutely bombed, and he was a good comic, and he was furious with me he called me out on my fake compliment also, and it didn't feel great, but I was on the other end of, I wasn't gonna.
But he's a known comic,
was a
or somebody you've
comic,
seen? Oh, all right,
very good, and he just ate it, and he came off stage, and I was like, "Hey, good set, man," like, because I didn't go. I feel like it would have been worse if he came off stage and I was like, "Hey, you ate it."
Yeah, right.
Good work, buddy.
Get him next time.
Yeah,
pal.
get him next time. He would have socked me. But instead, I was like, "Hey, good job." And he was like, "Are you serious?" And I was like, "Whatever, man. Just forget it."
Yeah, right.
You can't do that.
Wow.
So, no, I have no.
But what do you say then if they had if you want to be honest, but they had a bad night? What do you say?
I don't know. You just need to be better.
The crowd sucked.
I think you should be very close friends with somebody before you give them. I'll give tags to people that I don't know, like at a mic or a show, especially at a mic, because they're working on something new, or you can sort of tell at a show when something's new because the comic's genuinely excited about it.
Yeah, right.
So it's probably the highlight of their set, and you go, "Hey, that joke was really good, and you could do this." But that's for people that are sort of acquaintances. If somebody, I would have to know them. Like Donnelly once, he's a Long Island guy, now in New York. great comic, but he's told me when I just absolutely bombed or like when I made a mistake, and he'll point it out. But just because we've known each other for 15 years. So,
Sure.
No, I don't try. I try to keep it small, keep it light.
Right. Yes.
And
well, I did a set.
And not call anyone out on their bullshit.
Right. I hosted back in August. I hosted a show that Joey Cola was the headliner for, and I talk about Joey all the time on the show. But it was DC Benny was up. He was doing his set.
Great comic.
Oh, he's fantastic. Great. And so I'm just standing there. Joey comes up to me because I did maybe 10 minutes in the beginning, and he pulls me. He kind of waves me over, and so I go up and he whispers to me. He goes, he brought up one of my bits. He goes, that didn't work. He goes, I really think you should take it out. I was like, oh, okay. He goes, this other bit I thought was killer. He goes, and I'd be happy to help you. Well, let's work on it. Let's make it better. But it's killer. I'm like, oh, okay, great. So I did. I immediately dropped the bit he told me to drop, and I haven't used it since. But I love that honesty.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's good to come from another comic. I was just thinking of all the inscrutable notes I've gotten from either casting directors or industry folk, and because really all they want is for you to already be famous and good at something else. So you're just like, you're already famous, you already have a following, and you're very good at acting and writing, and you've shown that every day on TikTok. They will never give you a note unless the note is like, hey, try not to tweet about Israel anymore or whatever. Like, try not to have an opinion on anything. But versus a comic who will be like, oh, that was really good. That was your point of view. That was, you could see the audience light up when you talked about this, and you could see them. It's good that it was tense at this part because you broke the tension and just things. I feel like a lot of people who aren't comics don't understand, and will tell you like, oh, you should really drop that. If a comic tells you to drop something, it's probably just a bad bit. It's probably not like, oh, you're pushing too many buttons or you're being too edgy. Yeah, tell me the bit so I can tell you to stop doing it.
It was about autism.
Okay.
And I wasn't making fun of autism. I was basically, because I have an autistic daughter. So I was basically just saying how I was just having fun at how honest they are. They basically don't know how to lie, and they'll tell you if you're ugly, and I would point at an audience member.
Oh, sure.
And I would say things like that. But Joey, he came up and he said, because I said that to him, I go, I'm not making fun of autism. He goes, no. He goes, I'm not saying you are. He says, but you're bringing up a topic that is very sensitive, and you're probably making a few people sad. He goes,
sure.
You never want to do that. You never want to bring up a topic that's sad. He goes, you were totally respectful to that community. He says, but you're still reminding somebody of something that is sensitive to them.
Yes, I think it's a hard line to walk, but you should definitely try it again.
Oh, okay.
Or, I mean, maybe not that bit, whatever it was, but you certainly should talk about your daughter whenever you feel like it.
Sure.
Whether it makes people sad or not. If the sad thing is that you're like, I don't see any future for my daughter and I'm unraveling because she'll never know, how to socialize the way I will socialize. Yes, that will make people sad. But if you have a joke about her calling you bald or whatever,
right?
I don't know if you're bald, but I'm sorry, I didn't mean to be like your daughter.
She does make fun of me all the time about it, by the way.
Oh, it's going for me. So I got 4 more years left of my hair.
I can. Yeah, now that you mention it, yeah, all right, that's a good. Yeah,
let's get a close up of the. All right. So, my barber yesterday was like, every time I go in, he's like, just keep it short. It'll look fuller. I promise you. And then every time I go, every time I get it, I'm like, I'm just looking at my scalp.
Each time you go, it's quicker and quicker.
Yeah. It's faster,
30 seconds
haircut. And then he tells me about how to get plugs in Turkey real cheap. So I don't think I'm going to do that anytime soon. But
is he talking about hair plugs?
Yeah, hair plugs.
Oh, all right.
They individually
could be talking about something else.
Some roots. Oh yeah, plugs.
Yeah,
it's like get a plug, baby.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. He's just been sexually harassing me for 5 years. No, but I genuinely, my advice is to like go for something that gets a crowd quiet, but then you gotta trust that because they're trusting you. Especially if you say like my daughter's autistic, no one's gonna go, and if they do, they're an asshole. They're not, or no one's gonna like. I'm not gonna say no one. Someone will get offended, and they will have no one in their family who's autistic, and then you have to be like, well, go fuck yourself.
Right.
But yes, if somebody says, actually my cousin or my sibling, my daughter also, and what you said was actually wrong, you can listen to that and reflect and come up with something that's still honest but satisfying as a joke and satisfying from your own personal experience. So I would not say to drop the subject ever because it's your personal life.
Right. Well,
but maybe you were making people sad.
Maybe the joke itself.
Maybe the joke just wasn't good
maybe
enough.
Joe was just helping me. Instead of saying, "Hey, look, you suck," he was just trying a more polite way to. Tell
maybe
me
it just wasn't like. Because if you're saying, look, if you were saying something like bad about your daughter, if you're disparaging your daughter, that would be terrible.
Right.
But you're not.
I don't think I was.
Yeah, I don't think I can tell that you weren't. I'm just thinking about a joke that I had. I got a note. I was writing with Ophira Eisenberg, another great comic.
Yeah.
Great storyteller. And I had this story about a dog that bit me in the ass, and they had to discuss, as a family, and the only joke in it is I was like, this dog bit me, and they had named the dog. I don't know why I'm telling this on a podcast because the end of this story is Ophira being like, you probably can't tell that on stage, but it's not offensive or anything, but it's like a dog biting me in the ass. I have all these jokes about getting bit in the ass. And then we have this summit where the parents come in and they're all sitting down at the table. I remember it because they were all sitting and I was standing because of my ass. Yeah. And so they were discussing whether or not they had to put the dog down. Like, is the dog rabid? Is the dog too aggressive? Does it need to be put down? So they're sobbing because they had named the dog after their child who had died.
Oh.
And yes, brutal, true story. And all I was thinking was like, well, first of all, like, don't name your dog a human name. I think we all agree on this. But certainly don't name it after your child because the dog is going to die before you. So you're setting yourself up. Like, I have a dog, and I think all the time, it's an intrusive thought that I'm like, oh, this thing's going to die someday, and just that's going to ruin my week or month or year. And if it was named after someone I loved, it would bring up all of that also. So all of that, I think I could turn into something really funny. Like, the story's funny because it's just about, growing up. I was like 12 when it happened. It was embarrassing. My mom had to look into my ass to make sure it wasn't infected. That was a fun experience.
An infected ass.
Yes, an infected ass, from dog bites. So very sad and very not conducive, certainly not conducive to like a club set.
Right.
It's a long story and the end result is just sad. And like, there's not enough of a point that I'm making about dogs and human and the suffering of this family, both with their dog on the line and their child having died like 3 years before that.
Oh,
so
my goodness.
All of it true, all of it sad. I feel bad for anyone listening to this because they're like, is that true? And then there's no joke at the end. I'm just like, yeah, I have had
You'll
the
get
same
the shock
experience.
value,
I'm not
telling
trying to
it in the
shock
club.
anyone. I'm trying to talk about my life. And I feel like that's the same thing that you were saying was like, you're just trying to talk about your life and your daughter and what's true and honest. And it's a hot topic. For me, I was like, this is true and honest. And everybody has a dog and people grieve for loved ones in their lives. I should be able to make something funny and tense from this. And really the end result was just like, wow, it's a big leap.
So they put the dog down?
No.
Oh, they didn't. So
the joke was, I was like, they didn't put the dog down, but this was like 20 years ago. So that dog's dead. And that was the end of it. And people, boo! Yeah.
See,
you gotta put it in their mind. You think that's funny?
I do. I think that's funny.
You think autism is funny. No, I'm just kidding.
Apparently, yes, I'm not a good judge. Let's see, reading the comments. Hello, Lynn. Hello, Beansy. Thanks for joining us. We're hanging out with Dan Wilbur, who got bit on the ass by a dog.
Yeah, that's what I came in here to talk about.
Right, therapy. Wow. And all right, so in response to that story, we have a German Shepherd named Shep. So yeah, we're full of originality, and we didn't go the human name.
Yeah, I have a pug named Iggy.
Iggy,
which is he's named after Ignatius J. Reilly, who is a literary character. Oh, but Iggy's just like
it's a character. It's not a real person.
Dog, just a great dog name.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that works.
That's Iggy Azalea named herself after a dog named Iggy.
Is that true?
That's true.
Oh,
she's like, I love that name, and then she, not as cool as Doja Cat naming herself after a strain of ween. A strand of wheat. A strand of ween is what I said. A strain of weed.
And let me go back a little bit, because you said you were saying about being honest on stage and giving your opinion. Because when I did the show the other night, somebody started talking about vaccinations.
Sure.
And he said something about just do it. We should all be doing it. Sure enough, one person got up and left.
Good. Infecting the room. Come on.
So
I'm sure that person was vaccinated, by the way. I hate this. I hate this so much. Yeah. I bet that person was triple vaxxed and they were like, I got to take a stand. Idiots.
Or they just had to leave because they were due for they had a booster appointment.
Booster. Well, do you have to check in anymore? Were you ever checking in? Or is that just in the city?
Actually, I'm trying to think if there's any place I've had to check in here. National Coliseum.
Nobody checked me at the door here. I could be anybody.
You want me to check you?
No.
Good.
Please don't.
The National Coliseum, they check.
Yeah,
the UBS where the Islanders play.
Or like
but I don't think governors. They may have been.
Well, I don't want to out them. It's not a big deal now.
They're
it's not a big deal.
They're not doing it now.
I know they're not doing it now. So she very well could have been. I'm just saying that's my opinion. Is that it's the same with like if she's watching Fox News, I just assume she's on the same side as the Fox News hosts,
right? Who
are all triple, quadruple vaxxed. Coming into work and then beating their chests about how like we don't have a vaccine mandate here. You can get tested every day if you want. And I'm like, I'm sure that's what you're doing.
Right.
I'm absolutely certain that you're getting a nasal swab every single day when you walk in instead of being vaccinated. You love the inconvenience of being swabbed every day. It's so stupid. So stupid and disingenuous. But yes. I cut off your question. Which
well, it's just. I guess that was basically it. Do you worry about people getting upset over your opinion? Do you change it in any way? Do you feel that there are topics like vaccines that maybe shouldn't be shouldn't be touched on stage? Are you ever worried about offending your audience?
Well, I'm never worried about it because I'm a soft bitch. I'm a little bitch. I talk about my biggest concern personally is that I run stuff by my wife because I'll do stuff that I'm like, this, I don't want it to sound like I hate you on stage.
Right.
I don't like that kind of stuff.
Right, me too.
But occasionally I say something about my wife being annoying, and then I'm like, and me personally, again, it's like, I don't want to just use some rote man complaining about wife topic or example. I'd like to say something that's personal to me about you. Let me run this by you. And then she'll be like, no, it's funnier on the other end, about how I feel about you. And then she'll say something that's infinitely funnier than what I would have come up, and it's directed at me, and everybody hates men. So when I say something that's like, and then my wife said this to me and it was terrible, but she was correct. I think all of that's above board. But any topic, this isn't exactly connected, but I'm just thinking about all the comics who know it's a good piece of advice is that when people are silent, it means they're listening to you. So if you're building tension, especially, because it is just a magic trick of building tension and then releasing it and setting the world right after you said this bad thing.
Right.
I have a joke about how, people up here come to fix my sink and they're up in my business. They're asking personal questions. They want to know, this guy that fixed my sink said 20 minutes into fixing some plumbing was like, hey, I see you have a Nintendo Switch. And I was like, oh my God, I don't want to do this. And now I play Mario Kart with that man every day. And then I'll say in New York City, when I wanted my sink fixed, the guy who came in doesn't even speak English. And then I'm like, and I'm not being racist. I'm saying he doesn't. Not that he can't. He can. He just doesn't as a gift to me, to both of us. And he's this Albanian guy who speaks fluent English when I don't have a problem. And then when I do, he's like, broken. And then he walks away. And it's like the tension of the wording makes it sound like I'm saying it's somebody, like I'm being this racist asshole telling people to speak English. It's not really that. And it's not, that's like such a safe example. I talk about having mania on stage. That gets people real quiet. I talk about mental illness on stage. I talk about being fat on stage. And because the way that I'm fat, I know that there's some people who are like, it's genetic. I don't have, you shouldn't be punching down to people who can't, to people who are, we live in a country where like food is bad for you. So like it's really hard and you need food to survive. So I understand the plight of fat people. I'm talking about me gaining 30 pounds during COVID while also jogging, and I just can't stop going to that Ben and Jerry's. It is my fault in this sense. And if I want to talk about myself being fat, I don't think it's fat phobic. And I know there's maybe people, people watch this and they look at my face and they're like, but you're not fat. And then I'm like, I just went to the doctor and they were like, you are obese. Like your BMI is bad. You have to fix it. Yeah. And so it's like, well, at what point do I have to stop talking about myself? Because it's different to talk about, I'm excluding people who talk about other people. I'm excluding, my best friend is trans. I run stuff by her all the time. We talk all the time, not about my act and my stupid ideas about what I want to say. But at the end of the day, it's not my story to tell. So why would I even bring it up in most contexts? But there are things that are personal to me about her transition at the time. Like we were roommates. I've known her most of my life now. And, those things are hot button topics. Those things are things that apparently, if you're on Twitter, people say to not talk about at all. There are absolutely 100 ways you can tackle jokes about things that people are uncomfortable with, vaccinations. And it's not clever or funny to just bash somebody, I'll even include vaccinations in that in that assessment. But if you're a person who got vaccinated, if you're a person who exists in this world who has to show their vax pass everywhere they go, if you're a person who thought masks were a good idea and you exist on this planet, you should be able to talk about it. There's no like gray area there. It is your life. You should talk about it. And if you say, it's my personal opinion that everybody should be vaccinated because it affects everybody in this room, and someone walks out, fuck them. It just doesn't make any sense. And so every topic to me in a bubble, if we're in a vacuum, you'd say every single topic it's not off limits. Everything's on the table. You should be able to talk about anything, but there are ways that you can, certainly be sensitive, but it's also like, if you're using it as an excuse to spew hate at another human being,
totally
it's
different.
Stupid.
Right. That's a different story.
And if he as that person walked out, see, also, if a person walks out, that's also free speech. She's just leaving.
Right.
She didn't scream at him, and if she did, that wouldn't matter to me either.
Right.
Good for her.
Sure.
I'm sorry she ruined the comedy night. Someone will take her out eventually, and to ask her to leave. if she continues to do that. But it's her right as a human being to speak up about what she believes. And so I don't really care. I hope she doesn't have a podcast that 11 million people listen to. So that's all. But I remember, I have one more example that I was just thinking of, is I went to a show in like 2002.
Okay.
When I was a young, I don't even know how old I was. I guess I was 14 then. And I went to this show. It was called, I can't even remember who the comics are, but it was like a Jew and a Muslim do comedy. That was the bit.
Oh, okay.
And they split the bill and they toured that way. And it was about, it was comedy, but it had like a little bit of they had like a Q&A at the end, and it was interesting.
Cool.
It was like an interesting concept for a show. And the Muslim dude started talking about how he was at TSA or something, and they said, "Oh, I see you have this visa. It says it's a student visa. Is this expired?" And he was like, "Yes, I just graduated." And they said, "From where?" And he said, "Flight school." And when I say people walked out, I mean like in droves, because this was a year.
2002.
This was a year after,
Right.
and people. It was like such a white conservative crowd, and he cleared out half the room. I loved it. I was so psyched. And that's a joke about the tension of racism, because that guy, as far as I know, is not a terrorist.
Right.
But he is seen as one in this country.
Right.
Probably still now to those people if he went and told that joke again. And I'm sorry I don't know his name because I'm just repeating his line, but it was so funny. It got a big pop. I mean, people were laughing, and then they just, oh my God, they stormed out. Not just one person. It was
Right.
It was like 60 people out of this room.
Holy
Beautiful. I loved it. And I'm sure he told that joke every night.
Right.
I'm sure he did it every night, and it got mixed reaction sometimes, and then that reaction often.
Right.
So that's his life. You might think it's a tacky joke. It's a tacky joke when I say it because I'm just some white dude.
Right.
But when he said it, it was like, it was important, and it was right on time.
That's good. I like that. That's
Yeah.
a funny joke. Andy Pagano says the result of the dog should have been that they changed his name to Hitler.
Now there's a punchline.
Absolutely.
Finally. Thank you.
He's going to use
They
it.
changed it. They changed the name.
All right. So
COVID-19, the dog.
So let's go. So let's go back. So from Cleveland, is there a big? Well, I know like people like Drew Carey's from Ohio. I don't know if he's
Sure.
from Cleveland, but
Yeah, he's from Cleveland.
he is from Cleveland. So is there a big comedy scene there?
There's a big comedy scene, thanks mostly to Ramon Rivas and Jim Tews before that, and now Brendan Ayers back out there. He's a great comic who I met. I met him in Cleveland first at Ramon's open mic that he ran, that I would go to, when I was on summer break or winter break from school, because I actually started in New York, which I believe was a mistake, because I think you should get really well. It wasn't a mistake because I had college as this sort of bubble that I could stay in and try stuff, but it was art school and full of weirdos. Nobody wants to see like one-liners. And I should have done weirder stuff in retrospect, but I should have gotten really good at comedy somewhere and then moved to a bigger venue like New York. But I really just sort of hit it in New York as hard as I could, while other people stayed in their hometowns until they were funny and probably had more opportunities, because I know Ramon was working this big club where everybody came through, and he opened for them, but he also just knew comics and would produce these great shows with, he would just call Hannibal and have him come out.
Wow.
And have him headline a space that he wouldn't normally do, but then 500 people show up and Ramon gets to host it, and he like built a scene, and the only reason I'm giving him so much credit is because I remember before, and there was like an open mic, or you could get up at the Improv.
Right.
I couldn't get anything at Pickwick and Frolic, but the Improv would let me go up for like 5 or 10 minutes, and they had an audition. You did not ask about this, but what a great thing to just sum up what the Cleveland comedy scene was like. And it's that there was this guy, Lee, great, cool, funny booker of the Improv. And he would have us audition at noon on Mondays in front of no one, just other comics.
Oh, wow.
So you'd come in, there was just a sign-up list when you got there, and you sat in the empty club, and you did your act to silence. And sometimes you get the comics would, if you knew them, if you showed up enough, they would laugh. But it was like doing a bad open mic at noon, and that's how they chose people to go up at the Improv.
Wow!
And he would give good notes, and he would give you spots. He would just eventually he'd like you enough, and he'd throw you on. But that's what you had to do. And I'm telling you, the open mics, the real open mics, even the mixed ones with music and comedy, they were about the same level of feedback or worse. Every Cleveland show I would do that I actually produced, it would just be people screaming at me from the bar. It would be a mic set up next to the bar, people ordering drinks, you're talking. I just remember this guy going on a rant about Scientology, and then some woman booing him, but she wasn't even listening to what he was saying. And then he was like, "We got a Scientologist here," and it was like, "No, that's not what's happening. People are just not listening." There was one where I do think Ramon produced this, and I've talked about it 100 times, where I don't think he forgot. I think he knew, and the venue was cool with it, that we were going to have a very quick show at the halftime of a Cavs game. And halftimes in the NBA are 17 minutes long?
Yeah.
So we had this show. We were going to do a round robin, real fast. And they agreed to turn off the TVs they were going to turn them back on, whether the show was over or not.
Wow.
When the game came back on, they turned off the TVs during halftime, and people almost rioted. People were we were watching that little, and it was a full room where maybe 10 people were there to see the comedy, and the other 50 people were there to watch the game. And I'm saying, a woman took the mic out of somebody's hand and started talking about a pedicure that she had gotten, and then tried to hit him over the head with the mic. Just insane stuff. These two guys from Pittsburgh came all the way for the show, and it's only the 3-hour drive or something. They were I don't want to go up. I'm worried we're all gonna get killed here. And then they just turned back the game, and I think we talked over it for about 10 more minutes, and then we stopped. So anyway, that was the nascent. That was really the pinnacle of every Cleveland show before Jim and Ramon started running this mic, and before Pickwick is very good about nurturing the young comics that are there, and there's great comics. There are great comics in Cleveland. It's a small city,
right? Yeah,
it's not there's not. I mean, our show. If you saw our list, I have a weekly show now with my friend Zach Sims, and our list since October, I think we're gonna hit 500 comics.
Oh,
I
wow!
mean, it's
this is the show at Young Ethel's.
Yeah, Young Ethel's.
Young. Isn't that what I said?
Yeah, Young Ethel's.
Okay.
It's. I was just saying that it's New York. There are 1,000 or maybe 2,000 capable comics, people who won't shit the bed on your show.
Right. Yeah.
That's how big and then there's, hundreds more who suck and will ask you if they can do your show. And I've talked about, I don't know how many there are in the country. I said this. I said there were probably 10,000, and then every day I get an email from somebody that was I was hanging out with somebody, and they said that you said there were 2 million comics in America, and I was I never said this. We never. It's become a running gag with a couple comics that I've. But I really do think, I sincerely think there are maybe 2,000 people in New York who could get thrown up on any show, and you would not know the difference between them and some, and then you'd never think about them again. And that's why New York is a hellscape for comedians, because it's great. It's great. You can get up all the time. You can get up 3, 5 times, 10 times a night.
Yeah.
But then no one remembers you. They just, and you get a titter somewhere, and they're like, that guy was actually funny. And then, 7 more people go up who are actually also very funny. And I feel like Cleveland, you can be a big fish in a small pond.
Oh, okay.
And that's the whole point
right.
of your hometown when you're a comic, is you should stay as long as you can. the Billy Madison scene where
Right.
he's shaking the boy's face. Stay here. Stay as long as you can.
We did actually. I mentioned the murder mysteries just this past weekend. We did one here, and we're in the middle of the show. We're maybe a little more than halfway through, probably 3/4, and sure enough, in comes walking in is Mario
T.J.
Bosco.
Miller. Yeah.
T.J. Miller, and he shot us all. Mario Bosco
finally
comes
came to the
walking.
show. You pieces of shit.
Which he is coming back this summer, so I'm anxious to see what happens. I can't wait for him to get here. I can't wait for that
Cool.
night.
Sorry, I didn't mean to bring it up.
No, it's cool. Mario Bosco walks in, and I'm like, son of a bitch. So we immediately stop what we were doing. We're like, look at Mario. He didn't even have his jacket off. He had a winter hat on, a scarf, and a jacket. Yeah. We're like, look at him. Look at him walking in the middle of our show, and we started imitating him. Hey, you got a spot for me that I can do over there? Do you know Mario?
No, I don't know.
Oh, okay. I
don't know who we are.
Yeah, because he's in the city all the time.
Okay.
So
Well, I saw outside Al Lubell is headlining here. Al Lubell was like one of the first comics I saw in New York.
Al Lubell, actually, yeah, they haven't changed the sign. He just came through.
Oh, he just came through
2 or 3 weeks
I'm
ago.
sorry. I thought I could plug how funny Al Lubell is.
He's fantastic. He's got that documentary out, and he actually, he did his set. He actually came in here
cool.
right after he did his set, which was amazing. We were shocked.
He did a noon set and then came in here.
Well,
and did your podcast.
Right. He had breakfast, and we were in here on a Saturday night. So he came in. And that's actually one of the nice things about doing this, because we do come in here a lot on Saturday nights, so we get a lot of these guys as they're coming in, or if they're coming off. In fact, Al even said that. He goes, "This is the first time I'm doing an interview immediately after finishing a set."
Oh yeah, he's probably writing bits.
Yeah.
As he talks.
Yeah, I wouldn't be
the best.
surprised.
It was like an old Rich Jenny thing, R.I.P.
Yeah.
Where he was like, the best time to write is like right after your set. And I would just never think to do that.
Sure.
I would never sit down with a pen and paper and be like, but that's exactly what you should do.
Yeah.
I think that's what Roy Wood Jr. does. He like gets off stage and then he looks at the notes and he asks people like, did you see this? Did you see that? And
Yeah.
I think I could tackle this better. And that's a, really good professional advice that I have not taken. And that's why I'm where I'm at. As a comedian.
And that's a perfect segue. So I was shocked. You walked in here and you said you've never been in here.
I've never been in Governors. No.
Never been in Governors.
No.
That's crazy to me. And you were in the city. For
I
how
should.
long?
And now that I've gone on the website, because I'm like, I gotta start working these clubs. I see that all my friends are headlining. So I should just ask them sometime when I see somebody that I'm close to. I'll finally ask. Let me host, please.
And that was another thing we talk about often too, because what's the proper way of asking to get on a show? Because a lot of guys don't like that when you ask, hey, can I have a spot? A lot of them don't like that.
Yeah, let me just set the record straight.
Yeah.
You have to ask. You
Right,
can't-
how else-
You're not
right.
going to get spots unless you ask. It sucks if you're not funny. It sucks for a long time. It sucks when people don't trust you to be funny on their shows. It takes a long time to get good at comedy, but even when you're bad, you have to ask. You can't just punch your weight and DIY everything. You have to get. I mean, I don't know. You don't have to beg people to introduce you to their manager,
Right, right.
And managers are more of the same. Where if you have a personal relationship, they might help you with stuff. And comics too. It's like if you have a personal relationship with them, you can feel free to ask. But no, the fear of asking is it might as well be fear of success. You have to do it, and it sucks, and everybody hates it. And there's funny ways to do it, and there's rude ways to do it, and there's, I guess the right way is to not assume that you will get the spot. I have very low self-esteem, and that's always helped me. I'm good friends with Mike Drucker, another very funny comic and writer, and every time he emails me, it sounds like a suicide note. That he's like, I hate this. I hate asking. I wish I were dead. This is literally his emails. I hope I'm not outing him. But he would just be like, I hate that I even have to do this. Please let me do your show. And every time I'm like, Mike, we're close enough that you can just text me. Like, you can just text me, I want to do it tonight. And I will probably be able to give you some time, like whatever it is. Because we're not gatekeeping assholes.
Right.
So I hate to say this on a podcast because I don't want to get 30 emails, but if you message me and your Instagram is full of like decent bits and I can hear a crowd laughing, I'm only going to watch a minute of your set anyway.
Right.
If you're good enough and kind enough to ask and you don't expect anything, you can go on the show. If somebody emails me and it just says, yo, let me get up, it says like, and I don't know them, but I don't know, all this bullshit about like, well, you should really come hang at the show if you want to do it. No, I have other spots, and if I don't have a spot, I'm going home to play Elden Ring. I don't have time for this. If I have time to myself, I have to go caulk a bathroom with my wife. Okay? I don't have time to just come stand at the show unless it was like the booker was like, I would like to get to know you because I don't know you.
Right.
That's a little different, especially if they're not a comic. But comics understand, and if they're doing that bullshit to you, it's just a power trip. So no, ask all the time. Don't try to spot trade. Don't be like, hey, if you let me do your show, you can do my show. It's fine. It's just kind of tacky.
Yeah.
Nobody's trying to get anything out of you other than to have a good show.
Right.
And I feel bad that I can't pay the comics all the time. We get a little cut of the bar, and then it mostly goes to like I buy drinks for the comics with the cut of the bar that we got.
Right.
That's it. I'm just trying to make comics
a lot of them are happy
comfortable.
with that.
Yeah, a lot of them are happy. It takes nothing to make a comic happy.
Yes.
You can, like, there was bottled water in here, and I was like, this is the life. I can't believe this. A whole bottle of water to myself?
The whole bottle. Yeah, we have to share it.
We have to share it.
Throw a little bit of that in here.
That COVID vax, please. No, so yeah, please ask. Everyone should ask. And if anyone's a dick to you, fuck them. And also, what you could do, okay, here's how you ask. Here's how I ask. I say, hey, I wait until I have something like, oh, we got a phone?
No.
Oh, that's just the office phone.
Well, it says private name, and I don't answer private when it says
We're trying
private.
to contact you about your extended warranty.
We get a lot of
on
that.
Your microphones.
Yes.
Okay, the way that I would ask if there are comics watch this, right? I mean, that's what we're...
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, comics watch, yes.
Boilerplate. And this is good for pitching anyone. I mean, if you're going to cold email like a literary agent or you need to get a job, it's the same thing as writing your... You don't have to give everybody your entire CV, but a cover letter would be nice. And so I have a bio. It's got my credits. I mean, I don't send people my headshot, but I got a bio and I got a good clip. And I will send an email that's sort of informal, being like, I got this coming up, so I need to fill dates in, this day, and this day.
Yeah.
If you have anything open, and I make sure that their shows weekly, I'm saying the right dates. I'm like, do you have any of these 3 dates open? Could I do it? Below, if you need it, is my stuff. And what usually happens is my bio, and then it's the clip. And what usually happens is that it's a friend being like, why the fuck are you sending me your entire resume?
Right.
And they make fun of me over text. And I'm like, I'm just trying to keep it professional because I'm usually cold emailing people who do not know me.
Right.
And that's another reason that New York is a hellscape is I've been here. I've told you that I worked at a club in 2008. I've met everyone I thought. And then there's a new crop of people doing good shows every 6 months. And every 6 months I have to cold email people who have never seen me or heard of me.
Right.
And I'm like, I have been doing it for 15 years and here are all my credits and I'm exhausted. Please look at my set. And they're going to do the same thing I do, which is they look at it for a minute. They wait for the first pop and they go, yeah, that's pretty good. And then they book you. Or they don't even look at the clip. They'll just be like, we need more people. We're a weekly show. We need you.
Yeah.
So please ask. Absolutely ask.
But don't show up the day of and say, hey, you got a spot for me.
No, absolutely not.
That's,
I don't know who does that. That's Seinfeld can do that.
Well, right.
Chris Rock can do that. Bump you off the stage. Bump everybody else on the set.
Oh, of course, yeah.
But that's the dream. I don't want to the dream isn't to bump other comics, but the dream would be that you're walking down the street You think of something funny, you walk into the club and you say, can I do like 5 minutes? I want to test this one thing. And you don't write it down, and you get to just say it brain to mouth, work the crowd a little bit. They're excited to see you because you're famous.
Right.
And then you leave and you let the show just keep going. Wow. That's how famous. That's the only when people are like, what is the end game with stand-up? Like, that's it. I just want to continue to do it and always have convenient spots available to me rather than driving to, let's not say the name of the town in Pennsylvania, and having to work an hour clean and then talk to everybody about how, you know, they saw Bill Burr once and then ask them like, hey, where can I get a drink around here? And then they laugh in your face because they're like, there is nowhere to get a drink here. And I'm like, it's teetotaler out here in blank Pennsylvania. And then
most places Pennsylvania,
and that's the way you get paid as a comic. I forget what the hell I was talking about, but that's, you know,
it's all right. We have time to fill, so
that's not
I'm
the dream.
happy you're just
it's
talking.
not the dream. The dream is not to spend more time traveling than you did even thinking about comedy at all.
Right.
You just spend 2 days traveling to do a spot that you're like, that was the worst spot I've ever done. I'm glad it paid $2,000, but that I felt bad, and they seem to enjoy themselves, so they must be idiots, and that's what's going through your head. Whereas in New York, it's like, oh, I just want to leave my apartment and hang out with somebody, hang out with another comic, talk to them. We say something funny, and then we're like, let's go over to this place. And you were famous enough or cool enough with the club that they would throw you on.
Yeah,
when you're getting thrown on, it's a bonus. They just say like, oh, it's cool to see you. You want to go on? And that's you shouldn't ask.
Right. Yeah.
Then
you want to get asked.
Yeah.
But you don't want to ask them. Yeah. All right. Well, tell me, because you're talking about getting paid and whatnot. A lot of these guys, it's a tough life. So tell me about some e-cards and tell me about Better Book Titles.
So Better Book Titles is still around. It's a website I started sort of right after college in 2010. And it's just every day I post a funny fake cover for old books. So The Great Gatsby is Drink Responsibly. The Very Hungry Caterpillar is Eat Until You Feel Pretty. There's and now I have it's just a meme that sort of took off. There were people that had done it before, but no one had like photoshopped it and made it like a place to go. I had never seen it until I did. I thought it was like the most original concept. And then it was a Tumblr for a while, and then my wife and I finally fixed up the website so it's got so that there's like a blog side to it, and if there's book related news, like the last time there was a guy from New Jersey who wrote about how he hates people bringing books to bars, and then he just got dunked on for a day by the New York literati. They were like, you've got to stop posting this. There were funnier takes than that, but it was funny. That's like, yeah, when women read in bars, it's because they do not want to speak to you, sir, or like just a bunch of people saying they love to drink and read at the same time, which I don't like. I've never been. If I get more than one drink in, I
You don't
can't
remember anything you
process
read.
what I'm
Right.
reading. Yeah,
Right.
I'd rather be stoned and read, and just be like, words, man.
I just don't read. Yeah,
no,
I
you just don't read.
just
Yeah,
look at the
that's
pictures,
also helpful. So anyway, that's the kind of thing that would still be on Better Book Titles, and I'm eventually gonna sell T-shirts or something. I don't know what I'm gonna do with it, but it's like a place that belongs to me. It's like a website, and I have contributors that I love, and very funny people that, if we sell enough ads, I can continue to pay them. So. But yeah, that was it. Just funny titles for old books.
So you post a picture of the title of the book with the new title.
Yeah. I Photoshop
Right,
the covers so they look like the original covers. We talked for a while about like putting them on public domain books, so we could sell them. But I don't think there's really a market for people who want fake covers for. But like 5 people would get them. My mom would get them, and then I'd be.
But you
sad.
mentioned memes. It sounds like that it would work as a meme, maybe. But again, how do you make money that way?
Yeah, well, you need people to click on the website is the answer, and then some e-cards was where I saw. I mean, I had this blog, and I had sold a book, And then my immediate boss, who I worked for at a couple different places, the Chive, and we worked at Ruin My Week, and we worked at Distractify together. I basically just followed this guy around getting more editing work, and that's really all I know how to do. But at the end of the day, no, at the beginning of the end of the day doesn't make sense in this context. The beginning of all these things were just memes, just hot, free content. Just, wow, that was cool. That's a cool thing.
Right.
I will share that with somebody. And the more shareable something is, the more, people are visiting your site, the more people are visiting your Instagram, and then some eCards was so big, they were hiring a bunch of writers because they were making some money on the ads on the website and the traffic, but what they were really making money on was like they would hook up with Nest or Robitussin or like these big brands who had no good social presence.
Okay.
Because they were either new companies or they were really old companies who didn't have a social person.
Right.
And so they would team up with a blog site or something like some eCards, and they would do branded content, like internal. So you'd see something on Instagram and you go like, it's vaguely like an ad, but I would write these, I'd write actual funny jokes.
Oh, okay.
And then underneath, Robitussin. And it was about like a joke about allergies or a joke about, and that's what I spent a bulk of my time doing because I was the eCards editor.
Nice.
So essentially I just worked on, eventually I had to write in the afternoon because they realized that I wasn't doing anything in the afternoon. So I had to write some viral content about the Kardashians. But for the most part, I was just doing newsletters and writing as many jokes as I could with a bunch of people. And it was a lot of fun.
Wow.
And then I just did stuff like that since.
But I am noticing a theme. You attempted to follow your wife's best friend, but you also followed this guy around. So I'm getting a little nervous, actually.
Yeah. Well, at the end, yes, there are things I didn't agree with, but also like he figured out a way to make money on the internet. And he figured out a way to get a job every other day at different places. So God bless him. I'll follow him if that's where the money is.
That's right.
But yeah, there's no, to go back, it's like comedy. You got to supplement comedy with something. And most of our friends are movers and dog walkers. And, it's a rare find to find somebody that has like a straight office job. And it's certainly an even rarer find of a comic who has an office job that they actually like. And They do exist. There are plenty of comics that work in an office all day and they do stand up at night and they're, perfectly content. They like their jobs. Mm-hmm. They're living two lives and they're good at comedy. And so I'm just trying to dispel if any listeners are like, I gotta ask for 1 million spots and I gotta quit my job or I can't do this. It's like, no, every comic I know who's not already got a development deal and in movies or something, they're all working something else. So I'm trying to,
And most of them had a development deal at some point or another.
Sure.
And they're back.
And then you have to work the road. You can work the road.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
It seems like I can't figure out how you make, other than corporate gigs, like making real money in New York. Even though New York is a moneyed place.
Well, I was wondering that because, like I said, I did the show Tuesday night, and headlining was Neil Rubenstein. I don't know if you know Neil, but he was a New York comic for a long time. Just within the past year or so, moved to Oklahoma, but he's been traveling the whole country. He's just, he talks about it in his act, so I'm not talking out of school. He got divorced. His wife and him split up, so he doesn't have kids. At least I don't think he does. So he's able to just travel, and I even asked him the other night. I said, "How much have you been home?" He said, "In the past year, only 12 weekends."
Wow.
Exactly. So I'm like, "Holy shit!" I'm not trying to knock the place where we did the show, but it was just a bar show.
Right.
So here's Neil. He's headlining. He's traveling all over the country, and I'm thinking to myself, man, what kind of money is he making just performing at this bar? But I don't know, maybe he is doing okay. Maybe he's getting a few hundred a night and it adds up and it's cash. And I don't know. Maybe he is making a few places where it's
we're about
a few
to get
grand.
him audited after this podcast. The IRS is listening. Like, all right.
Sorry,
got his
Neil.
exact name. Yeah.
I'll give you a social. Yeah, so it does. I do wonder about that stuff. Or are you traveling to Pennsylvania for $75?
No, yeah, I wouldn't do that anymore. I mean,
but that happens.
I remember I was on the road with Adam Newman, and we were like, he was getting asked to do something that was actually really cool. It was like Harvard. It wasn't Hasty Pudding, but it was like some other Harvard comedy gig, and they were like, please come to Boston, we can pay you $200 and like let you sleep on a couch. And he was like, why would I? Oh no, it was Brown, I think, not Harvard. It doesn't matter. I just remember it was a college gig, and this was like 8 years ago. And just to think that we were like, I think we were both turning like maybe 27, 28, and we were already like, I just can't do that anymore.
Yeah, it is.
I'm not going to go tough. And college gigs, like sometimes I'll get a message. It's like, hey, can you do next week? We'll pay for the flight, but it's $400, and I have to be like, no. I don't want to say no to stuff. You'd still be coming out in the black, but it's like you could make more money just sitting at home, and that's embarrassing. But like, it's an embarrassing thing to admit. But I don't want to spend 2 days and then be miserable recovering a third day for a show that's bad.
Right.
when you could get paid like triple that, and the show's good, or like the show's at least well attended. Maybe you bomb in front of the people in Pennsylvania, but like, I'm just saying, like, that's not even the worst corporate gig. It'd pay you $1,000 or $500. I don't know. It doesn't matter to me. I was just thinking about these. When it clicked for me that I should probably be making a little money, and it was 10 years into comedy. So if I was 28, I think this was when we were both like 28, and we knew each other when we were 20, when we would have said, absolutely.
Yeah, of course.
You could pay me in beer, and
as
long as I get to like perform in front of 200 people and I can record it, like I need that set on tape. I'm bad at comedy.
$400 at the age of 20 is like, it's like a millionaire.
That's you would have spent it on such stupid shit. You would have spent $75 like on dinner, and then you would have like gone home and bought 2 video games, and then you'd just be bragging. And then you go to an open mic just like full of yourself because like, I got paid to do comedy.
Right.
And now it's like, it's gotta be, for those college things, there's usually like a set tier. And it's about $1,200 is like the lowest one.
Oh wow!
Because all those colleges have budgets.
Right.
And I'm sorry, this is so boring now. That I'm like, but I feel like we should talk about money. Eventually, that you shouldn't. If you're 21 and you're just starting in comedy, and someone's like, "I'll pay you $200 to drive me to the," you're mostly getting paid to just drive the headliner
to be
be cool,
to be Uber.
And then as long as the headliner isn't, assaulting you, which I guess is a problem now, it's a good deal because you can learn a lot on that trip, and you can be closer to the headliner, and you can and it sucks that they're not paying you enough, but in the God's honest truth is that headliner's probably only making $700.
Yeah.
And so $200 is actually a good chunk for you to get it, especially if they're paying for your hotel and the gas and everything else.
Well, there's always something to learn, so it's a good experience.
So I didn't mean to I didn't mean to downplay these $200 one-nighters, but like really, honestly, like you should be making some money especially to travel. And it's weird that New York doesn't have. I know people who run bar shows and they charge $10 and they actually make a good chunk. Or like Union Hall has a good split.
Mm-hmm.
Again, we're at we've been talking for an hour, so now I'm just talking about money. Can't believe I'm like.
All right. You mentioned before acting, so you've done some acting too. That I wasn't aware of. So.
Oh, I've done some acting.
Yeah.
I'm in SAG.
Ooh.
I can't believe it.
Look at you.
I have to turn down work. And by that, I mean every commercial is non-union and they need to fix the contract. Hey, guys. Welcome to the Mad Money with Dan Wilbur. Here's what to not do, not get ahead of yourself by joining SAG. I've done some acting. I did, we used to do all these college humor sketches. And
oh, nice.
That was like when that was the fun part. Let me pay you $80 to like hang out with your friends all day and eat craft services. but yeah, I did. I like doing sketches. I like doing weird. Most of what I'm doing now is just talking into my own phone on TikTok to get a bit out there. So hopefully more auditions, more, but everything. That's another reason I moved. And I think we were talking about our good friend Brian moving is Brian gets a ton of work. Brian's a great voice actor.
Yeah.
Would also agree with me that the SAG commercials need to change, but a lot of stuff's like self-tape, so you're just standing in your room. It's super embarrassing. You like, record something in your own apartment, and then we're all like, okay, so I work on the internet editing things as a writer. All of my auditions are through my phone. If I had to take a big meeting, I'd fly out. Why wouldn't I just live in Raleigh, North Carolina?
Yeah,
I didn't mean to out him.
Oh no, he's talked about it here.
Okay. But he's gonna continue to work, and if there's something majorly important in New York and they want to book him for it, they'll fly him out and they'll pay him too much money, and he'll be like, "What was I doing? Like, what was I doing living in dead center New York when they're just gonna bring me here when something important happens?" It's so weird.
I hate the self audition. Provide the link on YouTube or just email them. Because they're not seeing you in person.
No,
they're not giving you direction and you don't have that opportunity to show them you can take their direction. It makes me nuts. I'm a face-to-face guy. I mean, having said that, I hate having to go into the city, audition for 5 minutes, and I go right back home.
Right.
But that's the life. You know you're getting into that, but.
Yeah, I mean, that was the same. I take a train from South Brooklyn all the way up to Chelsea, and it's like an hour, maybe a little more if the train's bad.
Right.
And I'm like, and then, you do sit in a Starbucks for 20 minutes afterwards and think about what I've done with my life. How did I bomb that audition? But it really, like, when it was really clicking, there were like 3 or 4 a week or something, and they were all in person, and that was like 8 years ago. And now everything's an email.
Right.
It's weird.
It is weird.
It's weird how much it changed, and that was pre-COVID that was happening.
Yeah.
Pre-COVID,
I think
send me
COVID
the
sped
stuff.
it up. But,
COVID sped it up and like solidified it. But you get like a big meeting with an agent or something. It's always in person, and then casting directors now are like, I don't know, just send me a clip.
Yep.
It's weird.
All right. So we're out of here in about 10 minutes.
I'll try to say something funny in the next 10 minutes.
Well, I'll try my best to help you out. So I looked at your Facebook, and this is something I do with a few of our guests. I look at our mutual friends.
Sure.
And sometimes I'm surprised to see who's there. So what I do is then I just throw the names out, say whatever you want about that person. Sometimes people say, I don't even know who that is.
My mistress. Oh, sorry.
Exactly.
Okay,
right.
No.
Well, hopefully that's not the case with the first one.
Brian,
Brian, of course, is on the list. Andy Flegel. Okay.
Great comic. Every single one of them. Great comic.
That's your stock answer if you don't know who they are. Danielle Joy.
Great comic. Is she a comic?
No.
Okay.
Nasir Iqbal.
Great comic. I think was that a spam account? I feel rude. This is so rude.
That's actually why I'm asking, because this guy has been emailing me like crazy. He claims he can help me with social media for this show and our station.
Yeah,
here.
that's okay. Sure.
And
no, he might be a real guy. I don't know.
I think he is, but
this is so weird. I feel so bad because what if this is like someone Dan, you were my first boyfriend and you forgot in middle school.
Raquel Powell.
That might be my neighbor. I don't know.
Oh, really? I don't know. Joe Pontillo.
Absolutely. You plugged this earlier. When Brian and Joe are doing the show in May, they're doing another one in June. I'm on that one.
Not here.
So yeah, that's my
Your
plug.
governor's debut.
My governor's debut.
Oh,
unless
nice.
I get some spots from doing this podcast, which I'd love.
All
this
right.
is me asking, please.
Yeah, and it's funny because I was going to tell you before. Yeah, if you want to get some spots here, you should just come hang out at the bar one night. But
I'll come hang out.
Yeah. Oh, all right.
No, that's different. If that's how it's run, that's great.
It is kind of.
I'm talking about a comic running
right.
a bar show and saying you really need to come hang. I don't. We already hang out. We already go to parties together. I talk to you all the time. I don't need to come to your show, but I will. Of course I will.
Yeah, and then the last time I had was Brian McGinnis.
Oh yeah, love Brian.
You love Brian.
I love Brian.
That's a strong word for
We've
Brian.
gone to yeah. He's never loved anybody, not in comedy. I'm sure he loves his family, but he.
Well, even
that's
that
all you need.
he doesn't really love them that much.
I've never heard him talk shit. I've never heard him kvetch about.
The last time he was here, he said something on the air about how he doesn't talk to his brothers. I was like,
well, that's
okay.
Yeah, I was talking about his real family. The people he sprouted and his wife. They seem to get along.
Yes.
And I love that Brian, a married man with kids, out far in Queens, was at so many shows. Yeah. And I would always it's him and my friend Jordan Carlos, where I'm like, how are you out? Like, I just feel like if I had a baby, my wife would be like, you're going to stay here until the baby starts talking.
If you're lucky. No, it's more like when the kid is 18.
When the kid's 18, then you can go do stand-up again. No, I don't think that's going to happen, but we'll see. I like Brian. He's we've gone to Barcade together. We've hung out a lot.
Brian's a good boy.
We talk about video games all the time.
Oh yeah, do you do his podcast with him?
I've done that podcast. Speaking of acting, that's what I should have said. My best acting is that I think I've done 4 characters for playable characters. That's the name of the show. Playable Characters is an extremely funny improvised comedy show.
Right.
Where Brian and Calvin Cato interview video game NPCs, but they're like strange and esoteric people. My favorite one that I heard somebody else do were 2 residents of a building in the video game Rampage. So they're talking about like gentrification and how they're getting kicked out of this apartment building while King Kong is outside, a gorilla and a lizard are outside breaking down the entire city.
That's funny.
And mine, I don't know. I did the Chess Master. I did somebody from Horizon Zero Dawn. This won't mean anything to anybody unless you play a lot of video games. The best one I did was the announcer from, damn it, what is that game?
The one with the announcer.
Yeah, the one with the announcer. The one where it's like Running Man, where they kill you don't know what I'm talking about.
I have no idea.
Doesn't matter.
I am not a video game
Big
guy.
prizes. I can't do it now, but it's a great. You should look at that. It's one of the early episodes. I'll remember and then shout it. Super Smash TV. That's what it's called.
Oh, okay, of course.
Have you played a video game ever?
Yes. I'm the Atari
Pong.
2600 guy. Yeah, from the 70s. My kids, just maybe 2-3 years ago, they hooked me up with the VR.
Yeah.
And I had the goggles on, and but I couldn't stay in one spot. Like, I start running around the room because, that's what you do in the game. You're running. Instead of, you got to hit the controls to run.
Right.
I was actually, jumping around the room. I hit the corner. I hit an ottoman, went flying over the ottoman because I didn't see it because I had the and thank God I had the goggles because the right eye of the goggles hit the corner of a table and broke.
Good Lord!
So
you broke that. Yeah, maybe you'd start with Mario.
Go back
a little platformer.
Yeah, go back to the 2600.
Yeah.
And of course the kids were just like, you broke the goggles. There wasn't a single. Are you okay?
Yeah, why would they?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I didn't even like.
Your eye will grow back.
Exactly. Right.
You wear an eye patch.
You've lost limbs before. What's the difference? Yeah, like they really didn't care. I ripped wires out of the wall. Like they really did not care.
I love that.
It was all just they're grabbing all the controls from me to make sure all that stuff was okay, and they're checking the wires. I'm like,
I don't know.
I just fell. Yeah.
Someone came into my house, just started. No, I guess if they hurt themselves, I'd be worried they'd sue me.
Someone came into their house. This was my kids. I didn't go. I didn't walk into your house and just start playing your.
They don't know. They don't know.
Yeah, they play games all the time. They didn't recognize me.
Yeah, that's my video game.
It's like I supply the money for this shit.
I got this roommate. He's always telling me what to do, when to do it,
and I don't know why he's there.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's try this then. Big names have you ever worked with any big names in comedy or in acting? And did they give you any advice or did anything interesting?
Okay.
What?
Well, the first idea is to name drop, and then the second idea is to
Well, no,
say
I
if
want to
they
know
ever
your
said
experience
anything.
with those people. Yes. All good stuff. If you don't want to tell me anything bad, then don't
I'll
name
tell you
drop.
the worst advice I've gotten from a
okay.
comic that we need not mention who
Okay.
it was. Just said, always listen to that crowd, you know? That's all you need to know. It's like, if the crowd's loving it, you're good. Which is like, okay advice, except when you think about what crowds are into. Like, crowds used to go to mass executions, you know?
Right.
Crowds are notorious for hating Jews. So you should just not believe in crowds. Crowds used to go to the guillotine and watch people just get their heads lopped off, and they were like, this is fun.
This is entertainment.
This is funny. When he smacked the face of the dead head and it looked like it was shocked, I came when that happened. Okay. You know, crowds are fucked up and you should never listen to them. You should listen to yourself. Unless you suck at comedy. That's my advice.
It's good advice.
Yeah. I worked with, well, if you're in New York, you wind up seeing a lot of your heroes doing great stuff.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't know. I met Galifianakis at a show once, and back when I genuinely was just asking random comics for advice, and he was like, just get up as much as you can. And I feel like that's the advice of a lot of people,
yeah,
especially when you're younger. I mean, if you're older, you know, don't ruin your life and don't destroy your life for whatever this is. But when you're like 20 and you're looking for advice, I mean, that was great advice. And he was correct. Just the longer you can experiment, the weirder you can get, and the more you solidify what your voice is. And that was great. And then the big thing I'm doing in May is I'm opening for Patton Oswalt again at a theater a couple nights in a row, and
wow,
it's very exciting. And he's always been sort of. You know, I'll get trolled for something on Twitter, and I'll talk to him about it, and he's like, "Who cares?" You know, like it's just he seems to be very laissez-faire about what people do, but he's a very I know personally that he like I'll go to things that he's on or times he was touring for his book or his late wife's book, and I'll meet people who he also helped in different lines of work.
Oh,
like,
wow,
different like. I met a woman who was like, yeah, he helped me with my podcast when I started, you know, and I met this guy who, this guy Scout Tafoya, who makes all these video essays, and he's just he's enamored with film. Yeah. He's a great, he makes these beautiful video essays, and Patton was obsessed with it. And Patton, you know, has written movies, but he's not a director. He's an actor. He loves movies. And he just loved this guy's work so much that he promoted it and told everybody about it. And I feel like Patton's a great example of somebody who just is looking for cool shit all the time and then sharing it with everybody because look how cool this shit is.
So did he handpick you for these shows you're doing?
No, I asked. You got to ask.
Okay.
He loved Better Book Titles. He loved the book blog. And then I didn't really. I waited until I was good at comedy to tell him I wanted to work with him. So, but then he was open to it. He watched a clip. He saw what I did, and
that's fantastic.
And said, sure.
And this is in May. Where's that?
Grand Rapids and Madison.
Okay.
But we did the Beacon before COVID. It was wild. It was Wow,
that's fantastic.
Those are the big ones, and that's a big thing coming up. And Better Book Titles is what I'll be working on until then. And then my show is in Park Slope that I do every single week in Brooklyn. And, I'm trying to think of another example as I'm just sitting here of like.
Well, I was going to ask you to promote your stuff anyway. So you're.
Well, no, I was just trying to think of like a great piece of advice and,
Well, it doesn't have to be advice. Just could be anything memorable with some, names that everybody would know. Doesn't have to be advice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just remember being at comics and everybody just, I was like an
people
intern.
Were laughing. Yeah.
People were, just like famous comedians coming through and being like, cool, you're the intern, and then walking away. And it's just a lot of that. someone mistaking me for a waiter, asking me for stuff. And, that's most of my interactions. Most of my interactions with famous people are actually just people I knew 10 years ago who have gotten famous since. And so then I'm just having awkward interactions where I'm wondering if they still even remember me. And they're like, what are you doing? Like, we were friends. We texted two weeks ago to each other. I know who you are. And I'm like, oh, okay, sorry. Famous person. I thought you had forgotten me because you're so Hollywood now. And that's, again, just low self-esteem. So, yeah, I wish I had just a great, nugget pluck from the ether. I can't remember.
It's all right.
Can't remember anyone's advice. And that's why I'm bad at comedy. Because I've never taken anyone's advice, and I've never...
So bad that you're opening...
Oh, I'll give you a great one.
Oh, perfect.
One time, I was at the Improv in Cleveland, new to comedy. This comic got up and basically just sang "Since You've Been Gone." That was the whole bit. He was like, women got these great songs for breakups. And then he was like, "Since You've Been Gone." And then he just sang the whole thing, a cappella, and people screamed for it. People loved it. They cheered him, and then he brought up the first comic, and you couldn't want more from a host. But I thought it was hacky, and I went home, and I started to explain to my mom about how my night went. I was like, I went up, I bombed, but this other guy, he just sang, and then everybody ate it up, and I was trying to tell her how hacky it was, and she said, and I'm quoting, maybe you should try something that everyone likes. And I got to say, she was right on the money. That's the best advice I ever got. I should do stuff that people like.
Yeah.
What am I doing?
It might help.
It might help if you did something that everyone liked. Yes. Thank you, Mom.
Mom's spot on.
She was, of all the mom advice, hey, you should really call Lorne Michaels, see if you can get on SNL. Right. That's every mom has said that. And
right.
It's like, I can't
he's
do
waiting
that.
for my
he's
call.
Just waiting for the call. Yeah,
Yep.
You should really try. And then, but to just say hey, you should do something on stage that's funny. And I'm like, thank you. Yes, you're right. That would help me immensely.
So every time since you've gone on stage, you sing a song.
I get up on stage. Oh, yes, I am trying to write parody songs. I'm trying to do, bits that work. Maybe I should try bits. When I hear the audience just go, that sucks, and silence.
That might be a claim.
Wow,
yeah.
I should really try harder. Thank you, Mom. So, yes, my mom's advice is the best.
Very
best
nice.
comic in the world.
Great advice, Mom Wilbur.
Thank you. Mom Wilbur.
All right, with that, so now do you have any... So you mentioned every Wednesday at Young Ethel's, right? Every Wednesday, was it?
Every Wednesday at Young Ethel's.
And do you have any other dates at any clubs coming up you want to push before we say goodbye?
I think that's it for the moment. I'm doing QED in... I'm doing a lot of shows in May. I'll put them up on my website. It's just danwilber.com.
Okay, there you go.
And I have the dates up there. But I'm doing Weeding Out the Stoned on 4/22, April 22nd, and it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a little game show where audience members try to pick out who's stoned based on questions. I'm guessing they're going to get me real high because I barely smoke pot anymore, and I think my friends just want to see what happens. So I don't know how well I will.
Where do they find this? I've never heard of this.
It's Alex Fubard. He's a good comic from Philly, and great comic, excuse me. I said great comic about everyone, and then I'm like, Alex Fubard, good comic. I love Alex. Alex has been doing the show. He's been touring with it. It's really cool.
That's really
I know
funny.
that's coming up at the end of the month. I know QED, which is another great club. I'm trying to get up at Crab Trees out in Huntington. Whenever they'll give me a spot soon.
Yep.
Hopefully I'll get something running in Huntington soon. And then I'll come back here and plug it.
Nice. That sounds good to me. And you should maybe even try. They in the Giggle Room, they let people produce their own shows.
I'll do
here.
a Giggle Room show.
Why not?
I'm ready.
All right, but yeah. So as of right now, June, the big debut here at Governor's is that do you know? Is that a Friday or a Saturday? Do you know?
I think it's a Saturday.
All right, because most likely we'll be in here that night, so you can come in.
I'll come over. I'll come over
right
and
in and
say,
tell us what the
hey,
experience
I
is.
bombed. And then someone complimented me, and I punched him.
But then my mom stood up and said, "Don't punch him." I said, "Thanks for the advice, Mom."
Thank you, Mom.
Great advice. All right, danwilbur.com. Thanks, pal. This was fun.
Thank you. Yeah, this was a real pleasure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, so today is
Thursday, we have nothing on the rest of the day. So there you go. But we'll be back tomorrow. Me and Andy Pajanos will be hanging out. And this week there is live from Governor's Green Room. We will be in here Saturday night. Judy Gold is playing the big room. Hopefully she'll come in. But we have upcoming on Monday. We have a Glenn. Oh boy, I didn't bring his last name with me. I didn't bring it. But Glenn, he's in a band.
Glenn Beck.
Glenn, the guitar guy.
Sure.
He's in a band called Classic Clapton. He's in a Clapton tribute, Eric Clapton tribute band. He's going to come in here and play for us. That's Monday. We got Eric Tartaglione coming in April 22nd because he's playing here in the club on the 23rd. April 21st, I'm very excited. We got Jim Florentine is going to be on the show. I'm very excited about that. I found his Instagram. I emailed him. I said, I explained what this is. Would love to have him as a guest. He wrote back within seconds. Yeah, I'm in. I'm like, holy shit. It's hardly ever that easy to get guests, who are...
except me. Yeah, sure.
People that we all know. Him and Kevin, we had Kevin Pollak on here once, too.
Oh, wow.
That was freaking easy.
What a voice.
Took months to get to happen, but I was shocked at how easy it was. So Jim Florentine on April 21st. So, good stuff coming up. Andy and I will be on here again tomorrow at 11 a.m. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday. Don't forget, danwilber.com. All right, we're out. Thank you, guys. We'll see you later.